6-0, another victory. It's getting kind of tiresome here.
Well,
Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. We're going to try to come up with something to talk about this week.
I think we'll figure something out.
Yeah, well, 6-0,
Yeah.
what can you say about these guys? They just,
It just seemed to me that every week they find a new way to win. But for the most part, Tom, these guys are not playing their best football, but they're playing at a level that they expect to play, especially with the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
yeah. I mean, it's like every week they've got an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
This week it was Jordy
And it's
Nelson.
from a white guy. So who'll say white guys can't jump
Yeah.
and run?
Well, I know I can. So, I mean, that was a very impressive play on his part and
Yeah,
a
I think so.
huge factor in the game. And big plays seem to be a big factor in how they're winning these games.
And you're right about that, Tom, because we look at explosion plays, plays over 20 or 30 yards. And, Jordy Nelson, you think about, didn't have a lot of catches, but for yards. And people, when Packers made that pick, their first pick, but it was a second-round pick, who was this guy? He's a tall, long strider, very good hands for the most part. And this guy's a playmaker. I mean, and that's the one reason why they re-signed him. They want to keep this core group of guys together. And the particular coverage they got on that particular play, Al Harris was the cornerback, and kind of a double move. But any receiver can make the catch. But a lot of receivers can't do is split two guys and run the rest of the way for a touchdown. So I was very impressed by that. It was a great throw by Aaron Rodgers and a good way to read the coverage as well.
Yeah, a lot of big plays for him. Another interesting part of that game was Morgan Burnett came back, broke his hand in practice on Thursday. Had to be pretty ticked off about that, breaking in practice. But he came back and played with a club. How tough is it for a guy to play with that, especially a safety?
It's tough. Cullen Jenkins did it last year a little bit, but for the most part, you cannot wrap up on particular plays as you see here. You can't wrap up, so it makes you be more of an impact tackler instead of a kind of a grab a guy and fall down with your weight.
Right.
So what he has to do, Tom, he has to get to his spots quicker, and get his leverage right because you can't wrap up, and that's going to be questionable to see how he's going to intercept a pass. You're going to have to cradle it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, playing with one arm behind your back. You really can't do anything. But for the most part, he's in a position to make plays still. I think the sky's the limit for him. So for the most part, people talking about being a good tackler. Now he has to become a good hitter. Because if he can't make an impact tackle and get the guy down, he's going to miss a lot of tackles. So people got to be patient with him.
Well, doesn't not having that hand kind of force you to be more of a form tackler, to
With
put your shoulder
the left
in?
one, you do. I mean, but without it, if you wrap up, the running back, as he's going to your right side, he's just going to keep moving. But what it is going to force you to do, to your point, is concentrate on getting in the right position. You just can't go flying up there sometimes and you think, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But for the most part, if he's going to play the 8-man front, you can see really the Packers moving him back a little bit, let Charlie Pepper, in which they did that early in the second half, let Charlie Pepper as the 8-man front guy to stop the run and let him play more center fielder.
Right.
But he wants to be in the action.
Yeah.
So I was just glad to see him. When I heard he broke his hand, I'm like, oh no, don't miss any time, because Sam Shields may miss some time with the concussion. So they don't need two guys out of that secondary.
Yeah. Well, he did come in and had that nice pop on Steven
Yeah, he
Jackson,
did.
caused the fumble.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah.
So he's going to find a way. He needs to find a way, continue to use his.
And one thing, real
shoulders
quick,
like
before we
that.
close off on Morgan Burnett, each week he's had an impact impact play. Every week he's had an impact player. Big hit, interception, caused fumble or something. So I'm excited because he's on the rise of being one of the best young safeties in the league.
Yeah, he had a little setback in that Denver game, I think.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
Come on.
Uh,
What's up with this guy?
Going into the Metrodome, we know that
very tough place to play.
Very tough. Marshall Newhouse made his last start last week, or his first start last week, and this will be his first game in the Metrodome.
Yeah.
Going against Jared Allen.
Yeah.
Do the Packers give him help, or do they just trust that he's going to have to do it?
Tom, he's on the left side. If you're on the left side, genuinely, you don't get help. But I do close my eyes and think about the 8 sacks that we've given up there. And you think about
2 years ago.
Yeah, and you think about, this is the game. If you're in Minnesota, you're thinking I can get some sacks on an inexperienced line. So this is a challenge for him. I mean, he's been playing well. I mean, but for the most part, people want to say, can you protect Aaron Rodgers' blind side? So it's going to be tough for him. Because then how do you deal with giving up a sack? Most guys kind of go in the tank, but you got to stand up and say, I'm on the left side for a reason. I'm our best, pass blocker. So I'm going to get the best pass rusher. So this is a big challenge for him. I think that'll be one of the biggest challenges of the game, how he goes, how the Packers will go. Because if they're getting pressure from the blind side, Aaron can stay in the pocket for second and third progressions to find the next receiver.
Right.
That can be a problem. Now, what you said earlier, they can move Crabtree over there to kind of double him, but now you leave Brian Bulaga one-on-one with a lot of pressure coming backside. So you have to pick your poison. But that's what the backs are for. They just got to stop that rush so you can complete passes down the field.
One thing that was evident in the game on Sunday, they may not be run blocking real well, but they're pass protecting very well.
And that's what you want.
And
pretty much this protection is not so much West Coast anymore, but it's a rhythm. Aaron, get the ball out. If it's not there, use your athletic ability to extend the play and get the ball off. And these guys, for the most part, even the pass was down the middle that Jennings tipped off his hand with the interception. It was a great pocket for Aaron.
And we'll show that in the X's and O's.
Absolutely. So they can do that, just that horseshoe pocket, 2 to 3 seconds. Aaron is going to deliver the ball where it's supposed to be.
Right. Okay. Another challenge will be Adrian Peterson. It's always a challenge to stop Adrian Peterson. We kind of watched the Bears game, and the Vikings kind of got away from using him, and they probably should have kept hammering him. They went to, a lot of 2 and 3 tight end formations, and we'll show that in X's and O's too, how they did that. But this is a guy who can beat you single-handedly, isn't he?
Well, if you look at, since he's been there, he's been a problem for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, he's had good games. For the most part, he has a very unorthodox running style. Sometimes he'll jump, sometimes he'll just outrun you, and sometimes he'll run you over. He's not a good pass receiver. That's the good news for the Packers. But, genuinely, the Packers are pretty good, top 5, top 6, stopping the run. But this is the first time they'll see a prolific running back that can hurt you on the perimeter as well as up the middle. Because remember, against Atlanta, Michael Turner had some great runs. They shut that down. And I think Matthews, and I know a lot of people have been wondering, where's the sacks? He's playing great against the run, Tom. So if it's me, if Christian Ponder, Florida State product, if he's the quarterback, I stack 8 men in that box, and I stop Adrian Peterson, force him to throw the ball. If Donovan McNabb is their quarterback, I would disguise it, but I still put 8 men in the box. And you don't want Adrian Peterson to just, because not only that, if he's getting 150, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns, they're eating up that clock. Aaron Rodgers is on the sideline.
On the sideline, right?
Yeah.
And, another factor there is just will Dom Capers play his base defense more, go with 3 defensive linemen? I mean, does he really need to play nickel against the Vikings?
Well, nickel is really to stop Percy Harvin. He's killed the Packers down the perimeter. You don't have an answer for him down the field. So if you can bring in an extra defensive back, it's good. But the problem is, if Sam Shields is not there, they're going to have to play their base defense for the most of the game.
Right. Okay, and now let's go to our Twitter question of the week. And it comes from Forte29. I think this must be a admirer of Matt Forte.
Yeah.
Maybe. But anyways, he wants to know, sometimes success breeds complacency. And, what can players and coaches do to overcome that? And this is certainly something that could be affecting the Packers as well.
Well, I talked to a good friend of mine, Patrick Ballesteri at Syndic, and he asked the same question yesterday. Because, when we went to this big thing about can we go 19-0, I told Bob McGinnis in training camp, you really believe that you can win every game. Now, Mike McCarthy, to me, is a genius because he teaches his guys, if you're going to go out there, we want to win. So he doesn't have to worry about confidence and complacency. Mm-hmm. It's already set in their mind. If we're lining up, we want to win games. Mm-hmm. He doesn't mind the confidence, and he doesn't mind arrogance. He doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you want to win games. So if these guys thinking they can win every game, what's wrong with that? So they use that as a positive, not a negative.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting way to handle it, and we'll see. I think, he always talks about handling success more than he talks about handling defeat, right. And maybe that is what's going to be their biggest issue this year.
In your mind, you're being told that I got enough weapons to win these games.
Yeah.
So is that arrogance? Is that confidence? Are we so complacent that we won 24-3, but was that good enough? Hey, it was good enough for us.
Yeah.
We don't take anybody lightly, especially starting with the Minnesota Vikings. We want to put our foot on their throats and continue to do that.
Okay. All right, and that's it for 5 questions with LeRoy Butler. Don't forget to join us with X's and O's.
Yes, 2 great plays we're going to design. Looking forward to that because I think a lot of this has to do with in X's and O's. You can study how you can become a great fan in watching the game. And again, this is sponsored by CynicsMarket.com, the Ballesteri family, the best in the business, and also W.J. Kuhn Automotive in Oak Creek. If you mention my name, they give you 10% off. So W.J. Kuhn Automotive in Oak Creek.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.